Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to Gig Marks Podcast. I am Deanna.
And I am Nathan, and there's so much to talk about. There's so much wrestling. The main stuff that we're going to do, like this episode, is strictly going to be WrestleMania weekend review. We're going to do our best to just ignore as much of everything else as possible, because it just never stops.
Yeah, we were getting really sidetracked with all the things happening right after WrestleMania, trying to work on some ideas for the podcast, what we're going to talk about, and just realizing we got to get focused on WrestleMania because it was such an amazing event.
It was, and it's actually been... It was easy to get buried in all the stuff that's happened post-WrestleMania when one comes off of WrestleMania so excited, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, wrestling was very hyped this weekend, and there was so much that happened, and so many different cameo appearances happened, as you would expect from WrestleMania. But it was a very, very good event overall, in my opinion.
Definitely. And given the fact that it went on for basically 2 solid days, 3 if you consider SmackDown and the Hall of Fame ceremony on Friday night, we're going to completely ignore SmackDown. We're going to very briefly mention something about the Hall of Fame, and we'll pick up on with NXT Stand and Deliver going into WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2, and pretty well cut that off from there and try to pick up on all the rest of the stuff, because those of you that are into obsessively following wrestling news, you know what's going on in the last couple of days, last week. All the opinions have formed in real time. We don't need to throw any of that in at the moment. This is strictly WrestleMania, because if somebody wants to go down and listen to something WrestleMania related, here it is without any extra shit.
Right. I mean, there's too much to talk about here without getting into all that. There's enough on social media that you could dig down those holes and get into, and we might touch on it later, but for now, let's just focus on, WrestleMania 40 and what a great event it was, starting with Hall of Fame.
The mighty Paul Heyman basically opening the show.
Which, as we said, was a choice to...
That was definitely a choice.
Yeah, with that.
Let's put the headliner on first, folks. Okay. Certainly one of the greatest of all time. I was a fan of Paul E. Dangerously when I was a kid. How can you not like those wonderful heel managers when they're really good at talking and just pissing people off? And Paul was definitely one of the greats.
Absolute character, and he came out a really great moment, and the crowd popped for sure.
What's nice about Paul is he's so good. If you know, you know, but he's so good because he's able to blur that line where you don't know what's gimmick, what's real. It's fantastic in that way. He's pretty well always been the same, just he doesn't wear a leather trench coat anymore kind of thing. The suit always worked for him. I'm glad the mullet's gone. The fans were certainly hanging on Paul's words and loving that he was there, and why wouldn't you? But the rest of the show is very much the result of this is what happens when you put a pro wrestling audience in front of something that should be a little bit more formal, perhaps respectable.
Right, because most of the crowd seemed to be just, if they didn't know who it was or got bored or whatever it was, they were looking at their phones, talking, being just generally disrespectful, and it was unfortunate to see.
You could hear the crowd, just the mumbles of people talking through the whole arena, through everything post-Heyman.
People got up and left after he was
People
done.
were leaving. The only time we noticed that the crowd kind of, all of a sudden we're on board now, was when Mike Rotunda was giving his speech and turned it into a tribute to his son, Bray Wyatt. Then all of a sudden everybody was hot for it, and the phones came out.
Well, they were interacting. They're getting their phones out. Oh, yeah, I know this. And not giving really any respect to Mike. And it was just, yeah. But, it was a great event just to see the people that were recognized.
Yeah. Could have been better in that sense. I miss the Hall of Fame ceremony being back when they did do it in a smaller room, more less audience, more wrestlers, and
more of a press conference.
People,
kind of
not even so much a press conference. It was very much like an awards ceremony of like all the people kind of in the business, and it felt a lot more proper that way. I don't know. I've never been a fan of the big crowd Hall of Fame stuff because you always hear people just being rude and yelling shit out, and fuck off with all that. So moving on, once that was finally done, I don't even remember what time we got to bed that night, but it was stupidly late, which that was the trend, which we'll get into as it goes. So Saturday morning gets kicking, and we fire up the television, and NXT Stand and Deliver is not the first thing that we see. There's a whole bunch of pre-show yakking and so on, but the first event, like, we're going to get Stand and Deliver. Let's shorthand this so we can get right to WrestleMania. This is my point of view. Since NXT is developmental, and the whole point of it is getting people up to that, getting people excited about wrestlers XYZ and what they can potentially do in the future. So walking away from Stand and Deliver rather than analyzing each match or anything, who is it that we walked away excited to see after watching everything? And the answers are pretty simple through there. Baron Corbin, Braun Breaker, Obafemi, Roxanne Perez.
Roxanne Perez for sure. Ilya Dragunov, and pretty much ends with Ilya Dragunov for me. I mean,
Lyra Valkyria.
Oh yeah, Lyra too. Yeah.
But that's about it.
That was a good match for both ladies. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Could we agree that our favorite match out of the whole NXT was Roxanne Perez and Lyra Valkyria?
I would agree with that, and I was actually surprised by the end, of course.
I was surprised that ended up being my favorite match.
Yeah, but it was as you put it, a very good wrestling match.
Yeah, that one actually felt like you were watching a wrestling match. And whatever ignorance of any background and story, that they give you the video package at the beginning of like, okay, this is why they're mad at each other. Go, and they rocked it.
It was a solid story with no, frills and stuff. And, it didn't have the tag team match before it was such an opposite type of match than the Roxanne Lyra match, which was good.
Let's go on record by saying not only did we pay half-assed attention to the 6-woman tag the first time around that this was watched, when we went back and watched through everything a second time, we skipped that one entirely. Just want to put that out.
Hey.
Anyway, yeah, that's basically our feeling on NXT Stand and Deliver.
But overall, surprisingly good. I enjoyed a lot of those matches.
Yeah, I enjoyed the whole event overall. Other than the 6-woman tag, none of that was particularly boring. Braun Breaker is ferocious, and I can't wait to see what that guy does in the future. And it's a shame that
fast for his size. He's fast.
He's so insanely fast.
How is he so fast?
And let's also comment briefly that Axiom is a better actor than Nathan Frazier, and he has a mask on. So, moving on. We had a little bit of a break in there. We didn't stop watching any kind of wrestling-related stuff, but we get the break, and then we get WrestleMania 40. Yeah. Night 1, and opening, the first person we see come out, Becky Lynch. Who knew?
What? Becky's coming out right now?
And then we get a shitty band and Rhea Ripley, and then a good match.
We did. That was a very good match also, and we knew Becky was sick, so surprisingly she did well for that.
Yeah, we gotta give her a little bit of credit for jumping out there and spreading her germs around with 103 fever to go out there and rock a wrestling match. Thanks, Becky. And we know that Rhea Ripley was injured, even though they're acting like it was, they're trying to work gimmicks like it's Liv Morgan's fault that she's injured. No, folks, go back. You can go back a while. She's got that wrist brace on. We talked about this in the first episode, that something looked wrong in her eyes, and one of those promos that she cut, guarantee it had to do with a doctor report having to do with that wrist.
Yes, and we thought that for whatever reason this title was in limbo in some way. Just you could see it in her eyes.
We predicted it, and now all of a sudden it's vacant, which is skipping away from WrestleMania, but that'll be the one kind of current event thing that we're throwing out, because that just happened tonight. So yeah, there is that. Anyway, that was a good match. So the following the 6-pack tag team ladder match, we got to see the crowd get really pissed at Theory and Waller winning, and really happy with Miz and Truth winning.
Well, I mean, how can you not be happy seeing R-Truth win?
Yeah.
Anything.
How can you not be happy just seeing R-Truth?
He just brings a general, he's got this charisma about him.
Even when he's
a good guy.
Even when he was a heel, he was still really fun to watch. So it's gotta love some R-Truth.
Yeah, I mean, he brought comedy to a lot of events and matches. That it was still interesting though. I mean, he still does a really good job wrestling. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's rare when you can have comedy work, like really truly work. Goodness knows there are a million cases where the comedy is there and it sucks, but when it does work, hey, that's pretty cool. So right on for R-Truth. I admit I was a little bit surprised, but I guess in retrospect I shouldn't have been surprised that they took the titles off of the Judgment Day, but I was actually surprised at the time. I guess I was just too darn invested in the match.
Well, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, I don't think anybody liked seeing them win anything, really.
I loved that reaction, man. They got up there and that crowd, it was like a sort of delayed reaction, like they realized what had happened and just boo, boo, oh, no, boo, boo, boo! Like they were just
Wait, we're supposed to react to this.
They were not.
Yeah.
That was great.
And then what did you say about New Catch Republic?
Oh, jeez, I've said a few things about New Catch Republic. I would love to see them go away. They don't entertain me. Next match, Mysterio and Andrade against Santos Escobar and Dirty Dom.
Dirty Dom.
It was okay. It was fine.
It's okay. I thought Ray was kind of the MVP of that one. He was all over the place.
I don't remember too much about it overall because it was just sort of
it was just kind of
all over the place.
Yeah. It was a tag team match.
I do wonder if how much rehab involving stem cells injected into the knees or whatever old Mysterio has had, because he's moving better than I remember him moving 10 years ago.
And then we come to what some might call the worst match of the evening.
Oh, this is definitely the worst.
Potentially the worst match of the entire weekend.
I would also argue that, yeah. Worst match.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Just the worst match. Usos. Need we say more? It's just fucking terrible. And I really liked that they tried to pull the whole like no. I admit I was wrong. I'm your brother. Don't kick me anymore.
No, you wouldn't do that.
And Jay falls for it. Then Jimmy gets the upper hand, and that whole crowd is just like, "Oh, you dumb
They
fuck."
lost respect for Jay. They had to have. Like, come on, how could you fall for this? Oldest trick in the book.
They boo him so much when like there's no great cheer of like, yeah, the great reconciliation. No.
I am just so happy I never have to see that package of them together. Well, obviously, if we watch reruns or something,
well, that's where the skip button comes in. Yeah.
But the package of the Uso brothers back to back.
They absolutely massacred that audience. And, wow, that was bad. Killed the super kick. Boy, if the thigh slap super kick, all one word, is not the star of this match, and also buried in this match by the just disgusting overuse of it. How is it that these people can take so many kicks to the head and just keep on coming?
Like, we're still alive.
Once upon a time, that was a move that one shot and you're done. 1, 2, 3. And anyway, 6-woman tag, bringing on Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Damage Control. Not a bad little match, and it was just as we predicted, where Naomi is the one getting beat up, Cargill and Belair are the ones to make it look awesome.
And we knew Jade was going to do a great job. We knew Bianca would do her little whatever she does. And I was confused about Damage Control. I didn't know what was going to happen here. They've got all this storyline going on, and I've not been too deep into it because, a whole lot of who cares for me. But it was a pretty good match for all six ladies.
moving on to Zayn and Gunther. Damn, was this disappointing.
Yeah, that was the part that of the night that I got kind of upset, because Sammy was just not pulling his weight. He was the underdog, clearly, and he just wasn't doing anything during the whole match. He was just getting beat up. He never even had that moment of resurgence where he like comes up and gets a second wind until the very end.
He gets his little micro comebacks until it's time for him to get his proper comeback, and beyond that, it was Gunther just annihilating him. And then it's such a weak, wimpy defeat of Gunther. Like it
this miraculous brain buster,
borderline finger poke of doom. He lays down. He lays down. So just okay, time to lose now, and it's obvious. It's fucking obvious. And the prime drink. Let's see how I would say that. The prime drink plants that are sitting directly next to and directly behind Sami Zayn's wife during that match that they make a point to go back to over and over again with the camera was not lost on me and made me hate the match even more than I already did. The only thing that comes out of this for my twisted little brain that I like is the fact that Gunther lost the belt on day 666.
Yeah,
that's fucking hilarious to me. I'll enjoy that statistic. We'll take it. But beyond that,
I mean, they keep shooting to his wife, who has the same reaction every time. It's
she's a better actor than Nathan Frazier.
She was actually.
She sells better than Nathan Frazier.
She had better hair too, so.
She does have better hair.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Okay, so the grand disappointment, I admit I did not think that they would let that go. I don't think that I was aware of the 666 thing until after the match had happened.
No, I think that was something you had.
I think that came up
online.
after. But after the fucking Uso match, and what a big letdown of just. Not even a letdown. We knew that was going to suck. But, god damn it.
It just shouldn't have existed.
Transitional champion, Sami Zayn. Enjoy it while you can, buddy. So, the main event of night one, the Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. R&R versus R&R.
R&R.
The outcome was basically expected. It went longer than I think probably anybody expected it to, but...
It was a long match.
It was never a boring match. Well, yeah, pretty well was never a boring match. Like, it went for going almost 45 minutes. That was a fun little ride they took us on. Some acknowledgement to being in Philly. They're going through the crowd ECW style.
Yeah, they're in the crowd. They're on the deck. The trash cans are out. It's a whole to-do.
Having Cody Rhodes' mom yell "bullshit" was kind of funny, and
and the work they did on Seth's knee.
We'll talk more about Seth Rollins after we get into night two.
This guy got it beat up this weekend.
MVP of both nights of WrestleMania, even though I said in the first episode that I'm not a fan of Seth Rollins, is definitely Seth Rollins. So again, we'll get to it in a minute. But this match was pretty good. I want to call out the super hokey part of The Rock and the bloody weight belt going to Mama Rhodes, and something along the lines of what he says to her, first it's soaked with his blood and next it'll be your tears, or something to that equivalent, which is just like, who the fuck is writing this shit?
And she just sitting there, not a expression on her face until the very moment. Bullshit! Her cue comes out and her fists are shaking.
Yeah, the bullshit cracks me up. That's one of the best parts of the whole thing. Just this, and folks growing up, living in the Midwest and so on, she looks like a mom that would be yelling bullshit at you.
She looks like my mom. She terrified me. I am telling you. She
good
looks
stuff.
That little tiny, she's terrifying.
That needs to be a meme. The problem is that they cut away from her when the word shit is trailing. So you see her starting to say it and react to the facial and everything, but it cuts, but you still hear her on mic. If only all of the word was on camera, so you could get a meme, just bullshit on a loop. Fantastic. I could watch that all day. Moving into night 2. Another disappointment, but a disappointment that I'm not disappointed in, if that makes sense. Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, with the sacrilegious Roddy Piper.
Okay,
music.
so right away, yeah, he's coming out. Is this an homage or is it sacrilege? I don't know. I think it was an homage.
It's an homage, but Punk's got to be Punk. If you didn't know, CM Punk's on guest commentary, which does play into this whole thing. Franklin Rollins comes out with, I can't say it's the goofiest introduction in WrestleMania history, because I've admittedly not seen all 40 WrestleManias, but man, this was up there. And I'm always grateful for the mute button when it comes in.
This
to play.
guy and his ridiculousness. I mean...
Yeah. Timu Michael Hayes on acid at this point.
Timu Michael Hayes.
I'm blown away that they put the budget into this, but hey,
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like it was clearance bin, Hobby Lobby fabric, or like Joann's had some sort of sale on whatever kind of fabric that was, but in all of his outfits.
I know this is some kind of thing in Philadelphia, and that's fine. But it just really didn't need to be here. Personally. For the people that are into that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing that those people like, or whatever the fuck.
It's the kind of thing they're into, if that's what you're into. Yeah, something like that.
So let's get off the lame intro and get into the match. Pretty fucking great match, I must say. And Seth, at one point, takes a shot. I don't know if it's Drew's kick or if it's one of the bumps that Seth takes to the mat, but at some point, his eye gets jacked up.
Right.
And
we saw it right away. We saw it
Yeah.
fill with blood, and we're like, what is that? And he has this hematoma. His whole eye is filled with blood. And we rewound it several times. We're watching it. Can't seem to pinpoint when did this shot happen.
there are a couple times in the moments before it's like, well, it's either here or maybe it's here. You can't quite tell, which I guess is a testament to how good those two work.
And the ref is checking on him. He can tell something is wrong.
Well, Seth's even telling him. Seth's talking
Yeah.
to him like, something is going on in my eye. Like, don't know what. And it ain't pretty. And he had already jacked his knee up again the night before. So that poor guy...
They were railing on his knee. Yes, absolutely.
That poor bastard, man, he just got the ever-loving crap kicked out of him this WrestleMania, which is certainly why... And we still haven't even gotten to why he truly earns the MVP part, but we're getting there.
Well, mad respect for the fact that he barely took a moment to, deal with his eye, and he's back in there messing with Drew.
He finished the match. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to. But he finished the match, and it was a good finish, and it got over well with everybody, and Drew had his moment, and we popped. We were excited as hell, like really fucking stoked for Drew to win. And
for those few moments.
And then you get this glorious face-off with CM Punk that was both had a lot of anticipation building in it, and it was also funny. Like, get a picture, I want this on my wall. And Punk's like, I can't hear a word you're saying because I have cans on. And just all the dialogue going on during that was so good.
And then...
Punk topples him down, takes off the brace, starts wailing Drew, blows the kiss to Drew's old lady, which has given us one of the greatest gifts of all time. Oy vey. And then you get Damian Priest coming down with the Money in the Bank. And
what?
I was so bummed and had forgotten all about Damian Priest having the Money in the Bank. I'd forgotten about it completely.
No one expected it.
Oh, I'm sure plenty of people expected it. And when you go back and look at some of the social media, there were definitely people that expected it.
That is true.
I was one of those
No
people
one in this household expected it. Let's put it that way.
Very true.
I didn't expect it. I forgot about Money in the Bank.
I want to go on record to say Money in the Bank sucks, and that thing should have been worn out and thrown away a long fucking time ago. That said, let Priest have his moment. That's great. I'd prefer McIntyre because he's just a fucking beast and he talks better than probably anybody in that company besides Punk.
I want to know what's going to happen next, though, so this is excellent storytelling. So,
Oh, yeah, it's going to lead to great matches all through the rest of the year because no one's going to know what's going to happen at any given direction. Like SummerSlam, Survivor Series, holy shit, this year's going to be awesome. We were bummed that happened, but I can recognize the why, you know. So the next match, Lashley and the Street Profits defeating the Final Testament. This was an okay match. It was definitely for the fans, bringing Bubba Ray out there. It was basically just,
yep,
you know, a filler match. This is the go to the bathroom match, go buy some merch match. It was what it was. I think the crowd probably popped harder between Bubba Ray pulling off his glasses and Montez Ford doing that really cool leap over the turnbuckle post down to the floor.
That guy can move.
Those were some really good moments. That was cool. But past that, you know, the crowd got to yell, get the tables. Everybody was stoked about that.
Yeah, it was a good crowd pleaser match.
Right. It was some fun for Philly, basically. No harm, no foul.
And then you have kind of this filler match with LA Knight and AJ Styles in between the triple threat match. And
that match, I ended up liking that a lot better than I thought I was going to.
Me too.
A lot better than I thought I was going to. And LA Knight's extremely over. AJ Styles is definitely a respected veteran at this point. So the crowd, there were plenty of people in that crowd that expected more out of this right out of the gate than either of us would have. But
it was a solid match.
It was a solid old school style wrestling match and really entertaining. I want to see more. Like, I'm glad that they've kind of invented this feud for these two and they've managed to make it work as a feud. So if they continue to have matches, shit, through the rest of the summer, I'm fine with that. NWA style. And when I say NWA, folks, I'm talking the actual old NWA, not Smashing Pumpkins NWA. It feels like that when LA Knight's on the mic, especially when he's not in the room cutting a 10-minute promo, but actually like, you know, just old school style, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, just boom. It's great. Let's see more of that. So the triple threat match, here's another one that we weren't particularly super excited for just because thinking, oh boy, here we go, another triple threat match. This is just going to be a convoluted mess. This is one of the rare cases where the triple threat match actually kind of worked. It was entertaining from start to finish.
Yeah, from the moment they entered and Logan Paul with his
with the Prime Mobile.
With his truck.
The Prime truck.
We could definitely do without Prime. Prime is...
I could make so many genital jokes about that truck and the Prime bottle alone, but I'm not going to get into it. But I'll just put that on the table that there are so many jokes available for that, folks. So many jokes. Books worth of jokes. Just think about it a little bit. So many jokes.
But we like Logan.
But we like Logan Paul. But Prime can suck it. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, the golf cart camaraderie. Hey, right on. Why not?
Like, hey, what are they going to do? They're going to start it off together. Of course they did.
It worked. And this is a case where you can have comedy in a match and actually still have it work. Because like the dialogue between Randy and Kevin Owens was very funny as they're trying to like decide how they're going to beat up Paul. And then when Randy tries to RKO Kevin and Kevin pushes him away and he's like, dude, come on,
like,
come on.
How could you? How could you?
Come on, man. Did you really just try to RKO me? Come on. Everything about that was just funny and great. And
Randy sold... That was great comedy from Randy.
Who knew? But
Who knew?
It totally works. And another highlight of that match, which I hate that it's a highlight of the match, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy that it's a highlight of the match. Randy Orton kicking Logan Paul's Prime Bottle mascot buddy.
Right in the gut.
And since we wouldn't know who this dude was in any capacity,
No idea.
if we weren't able to like have the card pulled up on a computer screen in front of us, we wouldn't know. And so therefore, I'm not even going to acknowledge his name because I don't know who the fuck he is. And I don't care.
He just got kicked in his little prime gut, and he fell over, and it was funny. Funny.
He's some goofball dressed in a bottle outfit that admittedly made me laugh when I saw the nutritional facts printed on it too. Like, that part I thought was funny. But past that, it's just some idiot in a bottle suit.
I don't think he thought that Randy was really going to go there. I mean, I think Randy was kind of putting the hurt on him.
I think Randy had that kick just a little stiff, maybe. Just a tiny bit stiff. He does appear to kind of be manhandling him just a little bit there for a moment. Goodness knows he could have just torn that guy limb from limb if he wanted to, but the kick was very satisfying. It was a very satisfying kick watching that guy just go flying backwards. That was pretty great.
And then Logan, at the very end, that guy can fly through the air too. I mean, I like watching him move through that ring. That's always a really exciting part of his matches, I think.
Moving on, another match that, we actually even failed to mention this one by name in the first episode. We skipped over this entirely as we were talking through things. But Bayley getting the championship off of Io Sky, that was a really good match, start to finish too, and sort of a surprising, you could almost call this a dark horse match. I did not expect it to be as good as it was.
I could have done without the storyline, without the...
Agreed.
You were my friend, and now you're not my friend, and... yeah, okay.
The worst part about that was after, because they'd already done that with the Usos to a granted it's brother and brother, but they had already kind of done that.
There's always a betrayal in wrestling, of course.
But then when you have, you were never my friend, Io, and then Io gets a little bit of an advantage for a minute there, and the fake laugh that Io Sky puts out is
that's the worst.
Beyond cringe. It's cringe to the level of making Seth Rollins' outfits look classy. It was fucking awful. And it's like, man, if you can't pull off a fake grudge better than that, just go work for the Cons and go home. What the fuck?
Bayley did a great job. She sold it pretty well and got what she essentially deserved. Yeah.
That was a decent match as far as a wrestling match. I'm happy to see the title on Bayley because if we're entering that era of where popular baby faces with championships going around campaigning to basically babyface the company a little bit after all the stuff that's been going on this past year and for several years. It's understandable, and why not her? She's put in the work. She's actually put in the work. So, good for her.
Worried for her, though, about injury because they really have focused a lot on her knee especially, and
she's been out of,
which she's had an issue with before. I just wonder how long she can hold this title with that kind of injury.
And who can she actually have matches with that aren't just sort of... here's a put-together match, and this person's gonna job to Bayley for a while. It's gonna be tricky to see. But at the same time, it's a new era, so who can say where it's all gonna go? But that brings us to the main event of night 2: Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns.
We're already there.
This was great. This was a great match, and even with the cameos at the end, which I understood why they were there, but didn't really feel like they were necessary. That was kind of just sort of like the more than even icing on the cake.
To be honest, I was really hoping that this match was just going to be this match without all the bullshit and gimmicks, but they brought it all in anyway. The crowd, of course, loved it. I just wish they'd done all that before because they bring in the Usos out again. I didn't need that.
Nobody wanted to see Jay and Jimmy after night 1.
I never wanted to see them again after night 1 in this event. And here they are, falling through, a set-up table on the side.
we had to know The Rock was going to show up again at some point. I don't think anybody expected The Undertaker. That was definitely a pop.
Nope. I'm still laughing about him being like hiding underneath or something. I don't know what he was doing, but I'm sitting in my, just minding my business, and I'll just pop from that.
Yeah, it is fun to think about those sorts of things. Like, oh, you're just hanging out and watching the monitor. Cena running down nowhere near as fast as he used to was kind of a drag, which goes to show what one of the hang-ups I've had for years and years, aging alongside a lot of my favorite wrestlers, is I'm not so attached to any of these guys to where I want them to still be active long past their shelf life. And if Cena can't book it down to the ring like Cena did, in his day, don't have him come booking it to the ring. It's just that
do
simple.
Something different.
Do something different. It does not help Cena. Cena's basically bulletproof to the people that love John Cena. They're gonna always love him, and I respect the guy. I was never a fuck Cena guy, even if you can see through his work. You could park a car through his work, but at the same time, he was still
the boy
fun.
was breathing heavily. We
his run looked like shit.
Yeah, it didn't look too great, but it was fun. It was fun.
Well, everybody was happy to see him. Mm-hmm. Everybody was happy to see everybody. It was the big woohoo rah rah climactic kind of ending to the story.
The story.
People were genuinely surprised that Pritchard got a shout out there at the end, and I can't say that that I blame them for being surprised. I didn't expect that at all, but there you go.
Then he brought Triple H down, of course, and it was all just a happy, fun family reunion in the ring. But it was a really great ending, I think, to a pretty incredible event.
Yeah,
success-wise,
it was very impressive, and
especially numbers-wise.
Yeah, they broke all their stats, as I'm sure most of you know, or at least some of you know. Before we skip over it, since we were talking about just all that kind of, all the cameos there coming in at the end of the main event, this is certainly where Seth Rollins earns that MVP status.
I can't believe we're saying this, and I'm just going to throw that out again. Just continue.
I can't either. I wouldn't have suspected this at all. The Shield music drops, and a lot of people thought that there might be a third member of that faction showing up. I didn't expect that it would be him. I just did not expect that Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose was going to show up. I just didn't expect it or see it. And he didn't. Figured it was going to be Seth on some level, or even just a teaser as if nobody at all was going to come out. Just play the music and throw Roman off of his game. But the fact that Seth came back down and did his spot that he was supposed to do after being as fucked up as he got through...
After losing, after getting busted in the eye.
Because if you go back and look, folks, it's been cast around online as, people have made fun of, oh, Seth's crying, and, no, his eye's fucked up. Go back and look. Yeah. His left eye is jacked. And his knee's jacked, and his back is jacked, and he came down there and did that shit anyway, and they have to help him back to the back after it's all done. But man, give that guy a raise.
It could just be that he had to do it because he had a lot of saxophone players to pay labor on for that band that came out with him. So I don't know. He might have had some bills, so he felt forced to come out. But I'm just saying, I'll give him that.
Yeah, I guess if you get an intro like that, you do have to sort of.
It's you got people to pay for. That's not coming out of nothing.
That's pretty funny.
Get out there and you do your thing and you dance your dance, buddy. I don't care about your eye,
And this is the thing. Let's point out sort of a detail here. If you go back and watch before his match with Drew, when they're doing all the build-up stuff and they've got them all, backstage and so on, it has Drew sitting, or not Drew rather, but Seth looking at his title. He's looking at the belt. He's checking it out. He's looking at the belt. They're building the match, talking it up, and he doesn't necessarily have boo-boo face, job boo-boo face. It's more, he knows that he's gonna okay, the job is that I have to lose, and he looks bummed that he's not going to have the belt. Not so much that he has to do the job, he just has the look on his face that he's bummed out, like, oh, I'm not going to be champion anymore. Before the match even happens. You go back and look, that's the look on his face. Meanwhile, because that connects to what one of the things I've always disliked about the guy. He's a shitty fucking actor. Never believed a single thing about any of his gimmicks. He's just a bad actor. I don't give a shit if Dusty Rhodes liked him or not. Shitty actor. But clearly a tough son of a bitch and a hell of an athlete. And that counts for something. So for him to have come down, that beat down after, this brutal 24 hours that the dude's body and brain had been through. And even just on a personal level, if his wife being as sick as she was.
There's that mentality. They both have it.
There's that.
She's sick. She came out and did her thing. He's hurt. He came out and did his thing. He's
got to deal with all of that headache and then go out there and still do the work. Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolute mad respect for Seth Franklin Rollins for pulling all that off and doing what he was supposed to do. Yeah. He's still Franklin Rollins. But yeah, I admired that whole aspect of that. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And I realize that we're talking more about that than, say, Cody and Roman, but Cody and Roman was Cody and Roman, and we're going to see lots of Cody Rhodes for the next several months or who knows how much longer, and Roman has already shown hints of him coming back. So
yeah, I mean, the storyline is as big as it can be right now, and Roman's going to have a break for a bit, and I'm kind of just curious what's going to happen with Roman.
I want to try to examine that from a different point of view as far as, like, storyline, schmoryline. Just looking at these guys as athletes that had different attitudes towards one another and so on. Just to sort of ignore the storyline part of it and look at it just of, like, how grudges can be formed. It's easy to point at Roman Reigns quite possibly could have had a better victory or had a victory over Cody had it not been for all this convoluted extra shit. The convoluted extra shit is all connected to the story. You can start to peel away the story part of it and have it be the true athlete being, if it hadn't been for all this, like,
all this
I'll show you what I can really do.
There were some lowlights for me about advertisements and stuff. Like, if I never have to see or hear that Wheatley vodka song again, it will be too soon.
Yeah, we should have started this all off. We will never drink Wheatley vodka. Nope. We will never drink Prime.
Nope.
We'll never eat a Snickers bar.
Well, and we wouldn't do that anyway.
Dude wipes? Do what you do. I love that was during the Usos match. Just want to call that out. It was dude wipes everywhere during the Uso match. Maybe trying to tell them something. I don't know.
The type of people that would buy, it's targeted ads, obviously. The type of people that would buy dude wipes were the people that were yeeting and no yeeting to their little heart's content.
Yeeting is messy, I would imagine. And when you're wearing plastic pants for all those thigh slaps to be good and loud, like, you're getting extra sweaty. So some dude wipes would probably be beneficial when you're wearing thigh slap plastic pants.
This podcast is not sponsored by dude wipes or Prime.
Or Prime or Wheatley vodka.
Nope. And forget we ever said any of those things.
And if you want to consume that stuff, that's fine, folks. But we're going to make fun of all the product placement, and the product placement was.
I mean, it's expected, but my goodness, it was just. Also, the big head people, like.
Oh, yes. We can't leave out the big head people.
Ugh.
Fuck you, assholes.
Fuck you.
Fuck the big head people.
Fuck you, because the people who sat behind you probably paid a lot of money and had to watch the back of your dumb big heads pop up every 5 seconds inappropriately.
No one wanted to see your big stupid heads. No one. And
the fact that scrunchy faces.
The fact that you spent money on those big stupid heads. You brought those big stupid heads back for 2 fucking nights, and disrespecting all the other people that paid really good money to be there at that show, and you dumb motherfuckers waving around your big stupid heads with your big stupid ugly faces on them. Fuck you. Fuck you 1,000 times. You are not wrestling fans. You are just jerks that intentionally bought tickets across from the hard camera so you could wave around your stupid big fucking heads. Eat a bag of dicks, you dumb fucks. And I think with that, we can say that's been a good second episode of Gig Marks Podcast. Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you will subscribe, like, and please comment. We would love to interact with you.
Yeah, share us around on Twitter or wherever you choose to. Stay tuned. More will be coming soon. I'm not even going to try to lay out a prediction what will be in episode 3.
I think the next one we'll do probably here pretty soon, though, and lots to talk about. We thank you for listening. Like we said, like and subscribe if you can, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you all in our comments.
Thank you so much, folks. Until next time, go watch some wrestling.